We're going to stop right here and go into the lesson. Beloved, let's go into the Coptic Gospel of Thomas. Let's ask Yahweh Shai himself, your elder wiser brother. Let's ask him about circumcision. We're going to destroy all the false teachings on circumcision and restore the true teaching, the true message of circumcision. That's what we're going to do tonight. We are going to restore the true teaching and the true message of circumcision. And you will see that it was the errors of men and not the Most High. It was men who had an agenda, who perpetuated the miseducation and the lie throughout centuries. It was men. So we begin in the book of the Coptic Gospel of Thomas. Yahweh Shai is asked the question by a disciple. Let's go to page 31. Number 18. The disciple asks Yahweh Shai, is circumcision profitable or not? Ask him straight up. Is circumcision profitable or not? And Yahweh Shai said to them, if it were profitable, their father would beget them circumcised from their mother. Did you hear that? This is the Gospel of Thomas. Let's start with number 14. Let me take you back. His disciples said to him, 24 prophets spoke in Israel, and they all spoke about you. He said to them, you have dismissed the living one who is before you, and you have spoken about the dead. You see, this is the problem right now. All these self-appointed teachers and all these people who proclaim to have the Holy Spirit have dismissed the living God, and they are what? They are loyal to books. They are loyal to what is dead. Yahweh Shai told you your scripture is dead. You need a relationship with the Mossad so that he can give you the revelation hidden. But you will not get that revelation if you are not purified, if you are not humble, if you don't have meekness, if you don't have a contrite heart, if you don't have humility, if you are prideful and you think you know everything. He's not going to reveal that to you because you are pompous. You have an agenda and you want to appear as if you know. You really don't know. You have to go to the Lord of the harvest. That is his vineyard. So he said to them, you have dismissed the living one. I'm in front of you right now, and you're talking about the dead. I'm right here in front of you. Ask me what you want to ask me. So they asked him, is circumcision profitable or not? He said to them, if circumcision was profitable, your father would have begotten you circumcised from your mother. If circumcision was profitable, you'd have been born circumcised, brethren. I could stop the video right there. If circumcision was profitable, you would have been circumcised at birth. You would have come out your mother's portal circumcised. He told them if circumcision was profitable, they would have gotten, their father would beget them circumcised from their mother. Why would the Most High, who speaks vehemently against the flesh, would have a covenant of flesh with Abraham, with his friend Abraham? The Most I tell you, don't let the left hand know what the right hand does. Don't be like the hypocrites who pray and show everybody that they're praying. Don't be like that. When you fast, don't let nobody know you're fasting. Don't be like a hypocrite and look like you're fasting. He says, shower, look good. Don't look like you're fasting. The Most High is vehemently against outward show. He always tell you, listen, do this in private. That your father that see you in private will reward you openly. Why would all of a sudden the father would scratch this? He said, you know what? Go ahead and circumcise yourself. That's going to be an outward sign of your loyalty to me, really. Let's go to another article. So, first, what is circumcision? Let's see what this article from Utah Valley Pediatrics says. Let me see. Circumcision is a surgical procedure often performed on baby boys within 2 days after birth. Now, they could do that immediately, but the ish wait to the 8th day to do it. Circumcision removes the skin covering the head of the hump. You and your partner should decide before birth if you want to circumcise your baby. Procedure that your baby is born in a hospital. Obstetrician and or pediatrician will perform the circumcision before you go home, usually the day after your baby is born. The surgery takes between 5 and 20 minutes, okay? And they have different types of way to do it. All right, let me take you to another article. Hold up. The British Journal of General Practice, okay? So this article talk about circumcision. Let's see what I wanted to show you in here. Let's see. Judaism. In Judaism, at the bottom here, the covenant of circumcision, the Brit Milah, is one of the most universally observed commandments. The commitment to circumcise was a covenant made with Abraham, and it's recorded in Genesis 17, 10 and 14. So let's go. Genesis 17, 10 and 14. Let's read that first. Genesis 17, 10 and 14. Verse 10. Let's go. And God said to Abraham, let's start with 9. And as for you, Abraham, my friend, you shall keep my covenant. You and your offspring after you throughout their generations. According to Genesis 17, this is what God says. This is my covenant, Abraham, which you shall keep between me and your offsprings after you. Every male among you shall be circumcised. You shall be circumcised in the flesh of your foreskins, and it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and you. Is this true? Did the Most High really said this to Abraham, or was this added to your Bible? He who is 8 days old among you shall be circumcised. Every male throughout your generations, whether born in your house or bought with your money from any foreigner who is not of your offspring. Both he who is born in your house and he who is bought with your money shall surely be circumcised. So shall my covenant be in your flesh. Really? So the Father, the Most High, who is vehemently against the flesh, just told Abraham, my covenant shall be in the flesh as an everlasting covenant. So I have a question. What about all the children, all the men all over the world who are the children of Abraham who are not circumcised? Are they not Israel? Are they going to go to hell? Is this what is this where we at? Every male throughout your generations, whether born in your house or bought with money, shall be circumcised. A covenant in the flesh. Does the Most High have covenants of flesh with anyone? Any uncircumcised male who is not circumcised in the flesh or his foreskin shall be cut off from his people. Why? Because he has broken my covenant. Did the Most High really said that? Did the Most High really have this covenant with Abraham? Let's go back to the article. So we just read that. And God spoke to Abraham. He said to Abraham, this is my covenant which you shall keep. So we just read that. That's in the Ish. Okay? That's in Judaism. So let's go. Let's see in Islam at the bottom. At the top. According to the Muslim belief, in Islam, let's go to the left. The performance of circumcision is one of the rules of cleanliness. Islam is a religion that encompasses all aspects of life, and circumcision is definitely one of them. Okay? So the Prophet Muhammad says, 5 are the acts quite akin to fitra. So fitra is an Arabic term used to represent the innate disposition and natural character and the instinct of the human creation. Okay. So 5 are the acts of this innate character, innate disposition of human creation. One of them is circumcision, shaving the pubic hair, cutting the nails, plucking the hair under the armpits, clipping or shaving the mustache. All outward actions. Nothing to do with your soul, nothing to do with your spirit. Okay? This is all show. This is all your Pharisees and your Sadducees. These are all your hypocrites doing things that they have an outward appearance of righteousness. But really, they don't have righteousness at all. This is why Yahweh says, I did not come to abolish the law of Moses. I come to what? To fulfill it. What does he mean by that? He says, I come to demonstrate to you. I come to fulfill the law. I come to demonstrate the law in my actions, in my works. This is why he was always saying to you, look, I'm here to do my Father's work. I'm doing my Father's work. Okay? So these dudes are doing outward actions to come across as if they are somehow holier than thou by shaving, cutting, plucking. Listen to this. At the bottom, it is the basis of inbred nature, a symbol of Islam. Listen to this. It is the basis of inbred nature, a symbol of Islam, an indication of the law of the Lord, and the attainment of true society. Okay, according to Muslim belief, the Prophet Abraham was the first person to perform circumcision, and it has continued thereafter as a highly recommended practice of the messengers. Abraham circumcised himself at the age of 80 using a hatchet. In the Bible, Abraham circumcised himself at 99. So you have in the Islam, Abraham circumcised himself at 78, at 80. In the Bible, at 99. Why is there a discrepancy in the age of Abraham and when he did what he did? So Abraham circumcised himself with a hatchet. Can you imagine? Abraham circumcised himself at the age of 80 using a hatchet. Let's get a picture of a hatchet. Let me see. Hatchet. Let's get a picture of a hatchet. H-A-T-C-H-E. Hatchet. Hatchet pick. Okay. So Abraham circumcised himself using one of these. Okay? Abraham circumcised himself using a hatchet. God says, then we inspired you. Follow the creed of Abraham. Really? Follow the creed of Abraham. Get a hatchet and go clip thyself. Okay? Get a hatchet and follow the creed of Abraham. Okay, let's go back to our study. Let's go now from the beginning. I'm going to show you where circumcision started, and we're going to bury it tonight, and we're going to bring light to this. All praises to the Mossad. Family, rejoice. Mothers, rejoice. Any young men, older men out there that is confused about the topic of circumcision based on what you have heard from everyone else online, rejoice. The Father sent you tonight light and understanding. All praises. All praises. And I'm not saying these men, they're bad people either. No, I'm just saying they didn't dig deep enough. It wasn't something that they really desired to understand, to bring clarity to the masses. So therefore, they didn't get the deeper revelation. They stayed on the surface. Let's go to the books of Og, Enoch, and the giants. Remember that warning shot I gave you? Remember it. Let's get the history of circumcision. Let's go to the tale of Nimrod and his circumcision. Page 8. The tale of Nimrod and his circumcision. Now remember, Nimrod was friend with Aki. They were boys together. They grew up together. Nimrod knew the laws of God. He knew the pure laws of the Most High. Because Nimrod go back to the time of Enoch, the time of Aki, the time of Shem. Nimrod, a mighty hunter of men. Okay, we'll get to Nimrod in a second. So, I don't want to show you anything else because I don't want to ruin it for you. The tale of Nimrod and his circumcision. Let's go back from the beginning. Where did circumcision start? Let's see. In the time before the unspoken mistake, when Og's land heralded Nimrod's accomplishments, Nimrod was called a great hunter and a killer of large giants and things. You're going to learn why Nimrod was called a great hunter. It wasn't because he was skilled in hunting. Had nothing to do with that. Even though he was skilled in hunting. Had nothing to do with the name that he acquired being great hunter. While on the field of battle, Nimrod sustained a lung injury. While on the field of battle against the other giants, Nimrod did sustain a lung injury when he engaged the one-eyed Raphaim named Nimrod in warfare. Okay? That very same one-eyed Og or Og, not Og, O-G, Og. So I'll say Og just to differentiate Og and Og. While Nimrod engaged Og in warfare, he sustained a lung injury. That same one-eyed Og who fought alongside Og in the 100,000 giant war. Now, you see what I have up top? You have Mat and you have Yah. We'll get to that in a second. When Nimrod wounded Og's neck with the driver and chaser, Og's unconscious body fell to the ground with his outstretched hand still grasping his sword. So Nimrod knocked his ass out and he fell to the ground, still had his sword in his hand. And while he held the sword in his hand, the blade went upward at Nimrod's loin, cutting Nimrod, cutting his foreskin. The skin of Nimrod's wounded member hung as a testimony to all. This is the beginning of circumcision. This is where circumcision started. Circumcision started with Nimrod, the tale of Nimrod's circumcision, fighting with Og. So he wounded Og with an instrument called a driver and chaser, while Og fell to the ground with his outstretched hand still grasping his sword. The blade of the sword went upward towards Nimrod and cut his loins, and cut the foreskin of his loins. The skin of Nimrod's wounded member hung as a testimony to all. He then escaped the field of battle. Nimrod ran away. Then Og's giant army soon heard of the wound and knew to search the loins of the dead Nephilim on the field of battle for the circumcision of Nimrod. Since Og fell, because Nimrod wounded him, probably killed him, so the other giants, Raphaims, they thought Nimrod also got killed. But they heard of his circumcision. They heard of his members his member being hung by the wound he sustained from RG. So they went looking on the field of battle for a circumcision Nimrod, but they couldn't find him. Why? Because he escaped. So Nimrod knew his own vulnerability. He then returned to his army and reclined in his tent. Nimrod took the flint of a mountaintop and finished his own circumcision. So he took something very sharp. Well, let me show you a flint. Let me show you a flint. Picture of a flint. Oh, shoot. I ain't even typing. Picture of a flint. Of flint images. Okay? So he take a very sharp rock, very sharp object, something like that. Something sharp right here, but of a mountaintop. And he finished the job. Okay? So Nimrod took the flint of a mountaintop and finished his own circumcision and bound his loins in sackcloth. Nimrod then had the braids of his head shaved. He shaved his beard. He shaved his eyebrows. He anointed his head with oil. His cup was then filled with wine. Then he fell back and reclined. And he pondered. He's like, damn, I almost lost my stuff. After a short spell, he arose and sacrificed many smaller selves. So Nimrod sacrificed people. These are the smaller selves. In this book, the smaller selves are the regular folks like you and I. Nimrod then arose, he sacrificed many smaller selves and beseeched Mat for a delay in battle. Now, whoever has a book of remembrance, who is Mat in the book of the remembrance? Who is Mat in the book of the remembrance? Mossad the Lamb. Mat is Mossad the Lamb, who I call Mossad the Lamb, but Mat is Mossad the Lamb. Did Nimrod know Mat? Of course Nimrod knew Mat, because Aki knew Mat. Aki knew Matzah. Nimrod also knew Mossad the Lamb. Why? Because Aki knew Matzah. And Nimrod and Aki were friends. They're family. This is a very accurate name because it goes way back to the time of Aki. It goes way back to the time of Yatzikad, whom you used to know as Adam. So Nimrod sacrificed a bunch of smaller selves to Mat. So Mat can delay the battle that Nimrod was having with the giants. So what happened? Nimrod then took the mountain flint and circumcised 1,000 Nephilim of his army. Those that refused were cut down by the axe and chaser and driver, and their Nephilim bodies were tied to trees for the beasts as tradition states. Now, why would the Most High, the great I am, loving kindness, associate himself with this? Why would he have this covenant of circumcision with Abraham, and when it started like this with Nimrod? And Nimrod, okay, let's go back. Let's go here for a second. Let's go here for a second. I'll come back to page 9. Let's go to page 8. Page 8, the lost book of Og. Let's read this paragraph right here. It is through gnashing teeth that I give you full vent of my bitterness. My soul is downcast and disturbed. My history has become a fire, corrupting my life unto the extension of the Raphaim. I tell this terrible history to Anak, the keeper of the bodies before Baal. Now you're going to learn tonight that the giants also had a relationship with the Mossad, especially Og, king of Bashan. In this book, Og referred to the Most High as Baal of the earth. And Mat is Mossad the Lamb. Open your mind tonight, family. You're going to hear some things you have not heard. It's going to take you out of your comfort zone and open your eyes. Because we think we know who the Mossad is, but we have no idea. I tell this terrible history to Anak, the keeper of the bodies, before Baal, for his transcription. My wrath tends to evil words, anger, wrath, malice, and I've seen talk and fall from my lips as I speak. I've seen talk all fall from my lips as I speak. I still hold the mat worshipping Nimrod responsible for the death of the moon child. What did he just say? This is Og speaking. Og says, I hold the mat worshipping Nimrod responsible for the death of the moon child. Who's Mat? Who's Matzah? And the full portion of my hatred, Nimrod, that brutish, circumcised hater of reproof, the one who has planted and watered the gnawed living thicket that is my loathing. I tell no lie. I love not my brother whom I have seen, yet love Baal of the earth whom I have not seen. Now that's a straight reverse, because in 1 John 4 verse 19, it says the total opposite of this. 1 John 4 verse 19 says this. 1 John 4 verse 19 says the exact opposite of what Og just says. Whoever lives in love lives in God, and God in him. In this way, love is made complete among us so that we will have confidence on the day of judgment. Because in his word, we are like him. There is no fear in love. For anyone who does not love his brother, whom he has seen, cannot love God, whom he has not seen. Og just told you, I cannot love my brother who I see. But yet, I love the Baal of the earth, whom I have not seen. Remember, in this book, Baal of the earth is the Most High, and Mat is Mossad the Lamb. So, Og just called Nimrod the Mat worshipping. Nimrod worship Mat, who is Mossad the Lamb, who we call Yahushai. Why do we say this? Because Nimrod is the son of Cush, and Cush is a descendant of Ham, and Ham is a son of Noah. Does Nimrod knows Mat? Absolutely. Absolutely, Nimrod knows Mat. As a matter of fact, Nimrod knows Mat so much, it was because Nimrod was so young and he knew Mat that Satan, Semahazah, went to pervert Nimrod from a very young age. Semahazah went when Nimrod was very young, and he went to pervert Nimrod at a very young age. Did I copy the book? Yes or no? I did not. I did not. In the seal Book of Mormon, there are a couple of pages that talk about the priesthood. Okay? When Nimrod was young, you see the book is behind this book. You see that yellow thing in my hand? And I did not take a picture. So when Nimrod was young, Satan found the same disposition that he saw in Lamech in Nimrod. The same disobedience disposition. So he went because Nimrod was so young, he was able to influence Nimrod's thinking and had Nimrod believe that because Nimrod was outside of the Melchizedek priesthood, that Nimrod can come up with his own priesthood and elevate himself above the people. And he did. And Nimrod started his school of knowledge and recruited priests of Mahan that went around and offered free tuition to the children everywhere so that Nimrod could, under pretense, teach them mathematics, science, the science of the sky. What you call that again? Astronomy or astrology. All these sciences he offered to teach the children this, but Nimrod had an agenda. What Nimrod was truly trying to do is to snuff out the Holy Spirit from those Hebrew children and to instill in them the spirit of Satan. You see, those children they were used to seeing their parents doing miracles, all types of miracles, before they went to the school of Nimrod. By the time they graduated from the school of Nimrod under the tutelage of the priest of Mahan, every ounce, every atom of Holy Spirit, the Spirit of God, the Spirit of intelligence that were instilled in those children before they went to that school were gone. Now those children would look at those same parents that they knew before they went to that school, and they would tell the parents that the parents were doing witchcraft. So Nimrod was perverting the children because he was outside of the Melchizedek priesthood, which were supposed to come from the line of Shem, but not him. But Nimrod is the son of Cush, descendant of him. So Nimrod was outside of the priesthood. So Nimrod became a hunter of men, a hunter of soul. What does that mean? That means he hunted men with the purpose of enslaving them. That's why he was called a mighty hunter. You can find this story in the Seal Book of Mormon. So I didn't do it. I just said from the top. Okay? Let's go back to Nimrod and his circumcision tale. So Nimrod is a Mat worshiper here. He worships Mossad the lamb. According to this record, he sacrificed smaller selves to Matzah or to Mat, and he circumcised 1,000 Nephilim of his army. What did he do next? Those that refused to get circumcised, he cut them to pieces and hung their bodies up. Now you're going to find out how Og hated the guts of Nimrod because Nimrod was circumcised. Og hated Nimrod, which led me to believe, not to believe, I have the record to show you that Og had a relationship with the Most High. And somehow along the way, which I will show you, Og went left. He violated the Most High. He violated by something he said and by his intentions. And the Most High turned Og over to Moses and the children of Israel. And Moses was able to defeat Og in a battle. Right before Og was popping mad drunk to Moses. And Moses took him out. But Moses was able to take him out because Og violated. And the Most High left Og. He lived a long life. Og was one of the few, if not the only giant who survived the flood in that part of the world. And you'll see why tonight. We're going to shut down all the false doctrines and bring light to this situation. So, Nimrod tell of his circumcision. Og hates his guts because he worshiped Mat. Okay? And because he is a circumcised Nephilim. Okay? So what happened next? He circumcised 1,000. And then after that, he rested. And he healed for 5 days. Okay? While Og's army recovered. Now remember, he circumcised. He sacrificed many smaller cells to Mat. So that Mat, okay? Let's read it right here. Okay? Those that refused, he cut down by axe and chaser and driver, and the Nephilim bodies were tied to trees for the beasts, as tradition states. Mat or Matzah the lamb, or Mat. Okay, we don't call him Matzah the lamb here because he's the God that goes before us. But over here, he's just Mat. So Mat caused a bowel sickness to afflict Og's army, Nimrod's opponents. So Nimrod can rest and be healed for 5 days while Og's army recovered. Remember, Nimrod became vulnerable when he was circumcised. So he finished his circumcision, circumcised 1,000 more Nephilim, and now he sacrificed to Mat. He was granted 5 days of rest, and meanwhile the other army is also recovering. And Nimrod said, with the flint of a mountain top, heaps upon heaps, I have circumcised 1,000 men. And is not the valley where Nimrod circumcised the Nephilim still called the valley of first foreskin to this day? Now look for this valley of first foreskins. I couldn't find it. Perhaps you can. On the 6th day, Nimrod and his army went to war with no lower garments or loins covering. You see, he was smart. He knows they're looking for him. They don't really know how he looks like. But what happened? He circumcised 1,000 giants, 1,000 Nephilim, and he went to war on the 6th day against Og's army butt naked. No lower garments and no coverings of his loins. Everybody circumcised, hanging. And the armies of Og did not know which Nephilim was Nimrod in battle. The one-eyed Og's army gazed upon the compromised members of Nimrod's army and were befuddled and dumbfounded. They're like, what the hell? Nimrod's giants then attacked with clubs, driving and chaser, fists, boulders, and trees, and slew them all but one-eyed Og. Yo, they just didn't want to fight butt naked dudes. So they all got killed. When Nimrod, okay, so what happened here? So they kill everybody except one and his bodyguards who escaped the forest and the mountains. When Nimrod became the ruler of his portion of the great land, he then demanded circumcision throughout all of his Nephilim kingdom. Who demanded circumcision first? Was it the Most High or was it Nimrod? Is this the law of God or was it this tradition of Nimrod? Nimrod found an opportunity where he can have a upper hand over the other Raphim in battle. So now he's going along with this circumcision thing that happened to him. It proved to be successful. Okay? Nobody want to fight a dude that's butt naked. So Nimrod became ruler. When he became the ruler over the land that he won, he demanded circumcision throughout all of his Nephilim kingdom. I, Og, circumcised no males in my land. The Raphim kept their members intact. Og is telling you the story here. He said, I circumcised no males in my land. The Raphim kept their members. Now, why did Og not circumcise anyone? Remember, before everything, Nimrod himself wasn't even circumcised. He accidentally got circumcised in battle and found a loophole where he can win fights just being butt naked. Nimrod says, I Og. Og says, I Og. I circumcised no male in my lands. The Raphim kept their members. Now, who came first? Abraham or Nimrod? Okay. Abraham or Nimrod? Or Abraham or Og? Who came first? Who came thousands of years before? Og, king of Bashan, or Abraham? Why wouldn't Og circumcise anybody and Abraham would? And why would the Most High associate something that happened by accident with Nimrod with Abraham? Let's keep reading. It gets better. After Nimrod's mandated circumcision, the 7-year famine began. For Baal of the earth was displeased. Wait. Baal of the earth was displeased. Let's go get the meaning of Baal before you think I'm blaspheming over here. Baal definition. Baal meaning. Baal means what? Or Baal, however you want to say it. I say Baal. A Semitic common noun, a Hebrew name, meant owner or Lord. So, based on that, what is Baal of the earth? Owner of the earth or Lord of the earth. Who is that? After Nimrod's mandated circumcision, there was a 7-year famine on the land. Why? For the Most High, owner of the earth, the Lord of the earth, was displeased with Nimrod. The famine from the Most High, Baal of the earth, consumed the land. Who sends the famine? Does Semahazah send famine or does the Most High send famine? The famine from Baal of the earth, who is the Most High, the owner, the Lord of the earth, consumed the land for 7 years. The very earth itself was dry and stiff with wounds. At this time, the Most High sends the plague, and famine, best believe, is a plague, indignation and wrath. Then came the false prophecy from the Nephilim and the Raphaim priests of Baal in both lands. Okay, now we're going to have to read that. Let's go to where I highlighted. Number 22. Og speaks. I have hated everything Nimrod has loved, as I have hated his circumcised Nephilim kingdom. If I hated my circumcised brother giant and became a murderer of circumcised giants because of my hatred, so be it, says Og. Og says, if I hated Nimrod, if I hated my circumcised brother giant, and I became a murderer of circumcised giants because of the hatred that I have in my heart for Nimrod, so be it. Why? Because he hates everything Nimrod's love. He says, I have a place in the afterlife. Baal and Mat have considered my oath. The Most High and Mossad, the Most High and his son Yahushai, Og says, have already considered my oaths between them and have seen to it. Baal of the earth, or the Most High, has damned Nimrod's name for eternally, mean fickle-minded and simple. Nimrod's name shall be associated with the mad desire to maim genitals forevermore. Did you hear that? The Most High, Baal of the earth, and Mossad the Lamb damned Nimrod's name to eternity to mean fickle-minded and simple. Nimrod's name shall be associated with the mad desire to maim genitals. Nimrod's name shall be associated to the mad desire to circumcise genitals, not Abraham. These people circumcises everywhere following the doctrine of Nimrod, not Abraham. Nimrod's name shall be associated with the mad desire to maim genitals forevermore. I'm going to give you more. Okay? Let's go. I'm going to prove to you a little bit more that Baal of the earth is the Most High. You already know by now. So let's read it. Now you're going to hear something you read from the book of Isaiah in reverse. For Nimrod grew like a young plant, like a root out of dry ground. He had form and majesty that we should all look at him. See, that's Isaiah in reverse. When Yahweh shall walk into the temple and whatever they're saying here, it was said in reverse about Yahweh shall. Let me read it for you. Hold up. Let me get that for you. Let me get that for you in the book of Isaiah. He grew up like a young shoot. He grew up like a shoot. Isaiah 53:2. He grew up before him like a tender shoot. For Nimrod grew like a young plant, like a root out of dry ground. Isaiah 53:2. He grew up before him like a tender shoot and like a root out of dry ground. He had no beauty or majesty to attract us to him. Nothing in his appearance that we should desire him. He had form, he had majesty that we should all look at him, and beauty that we should desire him. Okay, so let's keep going. Isaiah 53. He was despised and rejected by mankind. Book of Og, he was championed by many. Still, I despise and reject him. Isaiah 53:3. Yahushua was despised and rejected by mankind, a man of suffering and familiar with pain, like one from whom people hide their faces. He was despised and we held him in low esteem. In this book, Nimrod was a champion by many. Still, Ox says, I despise and reject him. He became a giant of sorrows, acquainted with grief. He was despised, and we esteem him not. Circumcised Nimrod, the celebrated forefather of the Tower of Babel, of the smaller selves, is the fickle belief half-member Nimrod who killed us all. He says, it is the fickle belief half-member Nimrod who killed us all. My hatred for Nimrod has become greater than any love I have known. I, Og, have exceedingly and cruelly hated Nimrod. I, Og, have since eradicated Nimrod from existence. I have since gathered and eaten all of Nimrod's food stores, and I have eaten many of his smaller selves. By all of the earth empowered I, Og, to raid the land of Nimrod. By all of the earth despised the circumcision way. The Most High, who sent the famine for 7 years, the bile of the earth, to consume the land, was displeased with Nimrod's circumcision. Over here, Og is telling you again, bile of the earth empowered him to get rid of Nimrod, and bile of the earth despised the circumcision. Now, we're going way back, y'all, from the beginning. If the Most High, who is the bile of the earth, the Lord, the owner of the earth, despised the circumcision, why would he make that covenant with Abraham? And to whom did the powerful arm or bile of the earth reveal itself? To I, Og. Are the tales of how I avenged the earth of that circumcised Nephilim for the loss of the moon child and more? Are they not told in this very chapter transcribed by Anak? Let's keep reading. I want to show you a little bit more. Og is still speaking. Let's go to number 32. By all of the earth caused the waters to flow and for crops to flourish in all of the great land at that time. The Most High caused the waters to flow and for crops to flourish in all of the great land at the time. The great land was alive. The colors, the sounds, and connections of being in the land were bright and different. The feed animals were sleek and fat. The herds of lizard, elephant, and rhinoceros prospered. Wine flowed, fruit, nuts, and honey were plentiful. Peace ruled all land. This is why the Most High wanted Moses and the children of Israel and Joshua to inherit the land, because the land was alive. The land was plentiful. The land was evergreen. The land had everything in it. So when Og played himself, the Most High said, you know, off with your head, literally. I'm going to get my people, the children of Israel, whom I led out of the land of bondage into this land, flowing with milk and honey. There were no smaller selves in that time. The seasoned bile of the earth multiplied the nation of the Raphaim. Remember the Jerizzites, the Perizzites, the Gergesites, the Odiites. Let me get them for you. Let's go to the book of Joshua 3:10. This is how you will know that the living God is among you, and that he will certainly drive out before you the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Hivites, the Perizzites, the Gergeshites, the Amorites, the Jebusites. See, the ark of the covenant of the Lord of all the earth will go into the Jordan ahead of you. Now remember, I did a video on the ark of the covenant. And the wall of Jericho fell, but who was on the other side of the wall of Jericho? All the ites, all the Raphim, all the giants, all the Nephilim, they occupied that land. And it was time for them to go. And the people of the Mossad followed the instruction of the Mossad, and they used divine harmonics by cymatic frequencies and brought down the wall of Jericho. They tapped into the frequency of the earth, the frequencies in the air. They tapped into that ley line energy and brought down Jericho by divine harmonics and cymatics frequencies. That land was beautiful and plentiful. There were no smaller selves in that time. Remember, Joshua sent spies to go spy out the land. The seasoned Baal of the earth multiplied the nation of the Raphim. This was the foreign war between Nimrod and Tarshan, the giant's army. Okay? Tarshan, the giant who later fought on Og's behalf in the 100,000 giant war. I have a little bit more. It says right here, Nimrod's kingdom chose to circumcise the males of the smaller selves. He allowed the smaller selves to marry. He didn't sacrifice their offspring as the Raphim did. Circumcised Nimrod became the champion of the smaller selves and the great circumcised hunter. So who is circumcision assigned to? Abraham or Nimrod? Baal of the earth has damned Nimrod's name to eternally mean fickle-minded and simple. Nimrod's name shall be associated with the mad desire to mend genitals, not Abraham. Abraham's name is not associated with maimed genitals. Let's go to page 16, page 90. Let's go to page 16. I'm going to see, taking you some places you haven't considered before. Let's keep going. Mat. Let's go to the page 22. Let's read on Mat. In the book of the remembrance, we call him Mossad the Lamb. But over here, he's Mat. And Baal of the earth is the Most High. Let's go. Mat. The Most High is so amazing. When he opened my eyes to see this, I was befuddled. I was floored. I'm like, OMG, this was he the entire time. Behold the words of Mat, who we call Matzah the Lamb. And behold the locusts that I will bring upon the land of Nimrod. Who's speaking? Mat is speaking. Remember. Mat says, behold the locusts that I will bring upon the land of Nimrod. Behold the uncontrollable scorpions that I will release upon the circumcised Nimrod. The scorpions that damage the remaining grass and trees in Nimrod's lands. The scorpions that will destroy all except those who have not carved their members. What? The scorpions that Mat will release upon Nimrod's land will destroy everything and everyone except the uncircumcised. The scorpions that will destroy everything except those who have not carved their members in the rite of circumcision. Why would the Most High associate himself with that? When it clearly tells you he despised it. Mat, who is Matzah, who we call Yahushai, says, the scorpions he's going to release will destroy all except those who have not carved their members in the rites of circumcision. And those that are circumcised shall be tortured and killed. Hallelujah. Those that are circumcised shall be tortured and killed. Ladies, be at peace. Shalom to you. Shalom to you, young men, older men, who's thinking about circumcision and all of that stuff. Unnecessary. The Most High only has covenants of light with his people. The Most High have a higher covenant with Abraham. The Most High does not have covenant of flesh with anybody. Those that are circumcised shall be tortured and killed. Their torture shall be the sting of scorpions. The circumcised will seek death and not find it until Og delivers it to them. Behold the plagues that I, Mat, will bring upon the circumcised. Behold the plagues that I, Mat, Matzah, will bring upon the circumcised. From the underworld, locusts as large as horses with the Raphaim faces, hair like women's hair and teeth like lions' teeth, with armored scales, wings, and stingers on their tails for the uncircumcised Raphaim to command. Sounds like a page from the book of Revelation. For I might stand over the bottomless pit of the underworld. I will empower the uncircumcised to kill 1/3. I will empower those who have not carved their members by rites of circumcision to kill 1/3 of the circumcised inhabitants of Nimrod's land who were building the Tower of Babel. I will empower them to kill the uncircumcised while riding beasts that breathe smoke as the Raphaim warriors wear breastplates the color of fire, sapphire, and sulfur. I will empower them to kill the circumcised. The rest of the giants of the great land who remain undecided concerning the act of carving their members will face me. As I arise from the underworld, I know your works. You are neither circumcised or you are not. I know your works. You are either hot or you are cold. You are lukewarm. In regards to the governing of your members, you are lukewarm. Therefore, I will spit you out. I will vomit you out. I will spit upon you. I love it. Revelation 2:9. I know thy works and tribulations and poverty. Oh, no, not this one. Hold up. Let's get another one. Hold up. We're going to get to that one in a second. I think the other one is Revelation 3. Revelation 3:15. I know your works, that you are neither hot or cold. I wish that you were hot. I wish you were either hot or I wish you were either cold. Because you are lukewarm, neither hot or cold, I will spit you out of my mouth. This is what you're reading here, but this is a much earlier version of what is written in the book of Revelation 3:16. Mark is speaking to the circumcised Raphaim and Nimrod. Mark says, the rest of the giants of the great land who remain undecided concerning the act of carving their members. He said, look, make up your mind whether or not you're going to circumcise yourself or not. By the way, I hate and despise it. If you remain undecided, you will face me as I arise from the underworld. I know your works. You are neither circumcised or you are not. You are lukewarm in regards to the governing of your members. I will spit upon you while wrapped in smoke with the dark color of holy water above my head. My face will be as the sun, S-U-N, and my legs as pillars of fire. I will raise my right hand to the sky and I will swear by the underworld that there will be no more delay in the death of the circumcised. There will be no more delay in the death of the circumcised. The circumcised will say, I am rich, I have prospered, and I need nothing. Yet you fools will not realize that you are circumcised. He says, you're going to pump yourself up in Revelation 3:17. You're going to say, I am rich. Revelation 3:17. You say, I am rich. I have acquired wealth. And I don't need a thing. But you do not realize that you are wretched, pitiful, poor, blind, and naked. Revelation 3:17 over here tells you this. The circumcised will pump their chests up and say, oh, I'm rich. I have prospered and I don't need nothing. I need nothing. Matt says, you fools. You don't realize that you are circumcised, wretched, pitiable, poor, blind, and naked. Therefore, I counsel you that you never cut your foreskin, that you may be rich, and robes of purple clothe you. He said, I counsel you that you never cut your foreskin. Never get circumcised, that you may be rich, and robes of purple clothe you. Why? Because my servant Og stands at your circumcised door and knocks. And if you heed his voice and open the door and remain uncircumcised, the kingdom of the Raphaim will enter into your home and eat with you. Let anyone who has an ear listen to what Matt has to say to the circumcised and the uncircumcised alike. So spoke the prophet Og. Now you never knew that Og was a prophet among giants. Og the prophet, Og king of Bashan. Og worshipped Baal of the earth. Also he worshipped Baal of the moon. He went left too. But he knew the Most High. Why wouldn't he? Isn't the Mossad a creator? So spoke the prophet Og, while chained to the bracelets of the temple of Baal of the earth, the Most High. Og said, I warn every giant that hears the words of prophecy from King Og. If anyone adds to them, Baal of the earth will add to that giant the plagues described in this prophecy. Revelation 22:18 and 19. That's what it tells you. If anyone add any word on this book or take away, they're going to get the plagues written in this book. Same thing here. If anyone, see, the Mossad is the same yesterday, today, never changed. The same thing he had for us, he had for them. If anyone adds to them, Baal of the earth will add, the Most High will add to them, to these giants, the plagues described in this prophecy. If anyone takes away from the words that are in King Og's prophecy, Baal of the earth, the Most High, shall take away that giant's share in the whole of the great land that will belong to Og. Baal mean owner and Lord. Lord of the earth, owner of the earth. Who is that? Matzah the Lamb, Yahweh Shai Christ. You know it. Let's go and get the last one. Well, Abdullah, you rich, and you know this information came from the Vatican. We can really trust it. What book? What book do you have that didn't come from a Gentile? You let me know. What book do you have that didn't come from the other nations? Can you name one book? Maybe the one you wrote yourself. But okay, if this is not enough for you, let me take you to another place. Let me bring another witness to the stand. Before we go and bring you another witness to the stand, let's read something on Og. Og. Where you at, player? Let's get Og. No, over here. Let me get you something on Og. Let me show you that Og had a relationship with the Mossad and where he went left. So I found this article online. I love the man who is himself ever seeking a lover of wisdom or seeker of truth. The man who loves to unravel the riddle of life. Mossad says, that man is mine. Let's go. Let's read this. Og was not destroyed at the time of the flood. For according to one legend, the waters reached only to his ankles. Another tradition states that he fled to Palestine, where there was no flood, while according to a third legend, he sat on a rung of the ladder outside the ark. And after he had sworn to be a slave to Noah and his children, received his food each day through a hole made in the side of the ark. See, 3 different tales of Og surviving the flood. And the third one says, after he had sworn to be a slave to Noah and his children, they fed him through a hole made in the ark every day until the flood passed. That's how he survived. So Og knew Mat, which is Matzadalam. You see, he lived in the time of Noah. He lived in the time of Enoch. He lived in the time of Aki, because Nimrod lived in the time of Aki. Why? Because Nimrod was friends with Aki. They were boys. That's in the 13th chapter of the Book of the Remembrance. One Aki, or still brother Jared, chapter 13. Let me see if I have that in here. Hold up. Let me see if I took a copy of that. Probably didn't. 13th chapter of the Book of the Remembrance. Is it here? Nope, that's 1 Aki 5. 13th chapter of Book of the Remembrance. I can't believe I didn't take a picture of this sealed portion, Final Testament of JC. But it's all good and dandy. It was all in my mind. Okay, watch this. I think it's here. I think I have it. Let me see. I think I have it. Let me see. Let me see. Are you here? Are you on this page? Okay, I didn't take it down. This is a page from the video I did the other day. I did not take it down. I did not write it down. But take my words for it. Go look it up. Go look it up. Okay. Okay. Let me see. Okay. Let me see that. Oh, look. Look at this. Okay. It's all good. It's all good. Let's go. Let me see. All right. Okay. So now let's go back to Og. Let's go back to Og. Bam. Og survived the flood. Okay. Great. One of the accounts says that Noah fed him through a hole that was in the ark. So we know Og knew the Most High. He had a relationship with the Most High. He knew Matzah the Lamb. That was the same time. Same time. It was Og who brought the news to Abraham of the captivity of Lot. You're going to realize this is where Og went left, and this is where he sealed his fate. This is where Og's demise was set in stone. It was Og who brought the news to Abraham of the captivity of Lot. Og did this, however, with an evil motive. So he had an agenda. For Og thought that Abraham would seek to release Lot, and Lot would be killed in battle, and Abraham would be killed in battle with the great kings. Remember, Abraham went to battle against all these kings that kidnapped his nephew, and he killed everybody. And he took all the spoils, and on his way back, what did he do? He met with Melchizedek and gave him a tithe, 10% of all that he received. We're not going to go to the scriptures. You already know it. But Og told Abraham, yo, your nephew was kidnapped. What you gonna do about it? But why did he do that? He did it with an evil motive. For he thought that Abraham would seek, while Abraham went to go and try to release Lot, his nephew, from those kings, he thought that Abraham would be killed in battle. Because Abraham was going against a whole lot of kings. He didn't know who Abraham was, obviously. He didn't know that Abraham was a friend of the Most High. Lot thought that Abraham would be killed in battle with the great kings and that Og would be able to marry the beautiful Sarah. Look at that, look at that. Look at the covetousness in Og's heart. Og wanted Abraham's wife. So he told Abraham, yo, your nephew got kidnapped, go get him. All along, trying to pull a David and Uriah on Abraham. Oh my God, that's dirty. Oh, you're a dirty giant. Og trying to sink Abraham battleship. He wanted that beautiful Sarah. Oh my goodness. You can't have her, bruh. She's married to our papa. Okay? Oh man, that's dirty. You gotta go back, y'all. If you want understanding, you gotta go back. Enoch says, cling to the ways of the ancient ones, their gentle ways of peace. Yahweh says, have you understood the beginning that you look for the end? In order for you to understand what's going on now, you got to understand what happened in the beginning. Have you understood the beginning that you look for the end? Og wanted Abraham to die so that Og can marry the beautiful Sarah. Oh, there's more. It gets better. The Mossad gave Og a long lease of life. For Og lived about 5,000 years or so. The Most High gave Og a long lease of life. A long lease of life was granted Og as a reward for informing Abraham. But because of Og's sinister motive, Og was destined to be killed by the descendants of Abraham. This is the Most High's humor. He said, I'm going to let you live just to kill you later. Og was given long life just to die by the hands of the descendants of Abraham. And who's that? Who killed Og? Let's find out. You already know it's Moses. Og was present. Listen to this, y'all. Og was present at the banquet, at the party Abraham threw on the day Isaac was weaned. Og was present at the banquet which Abraham gave on the day Isaac was weaned, as Og had always declared that Abraham would beget no children. Ponder on that for a second. On the day that Isaac came off the breast to start eating real food, okay, weaned away from the breast, okay, on the day that Isaac came off the suckling of the breast, okay, weaned away, Abraham threw a party and Og was present. Okay? Og had always declared that Abraham ain't gonna have no kids. Abraham would beget no children. The guests at the banquet teasingly asked Og, hey yo, Og, let me ask you a question. You are running your mouth about Abraham not having any children? Look at Abraham now. The guests teasingly asked Og, what he had to say now. What you gotta say now, Og? That Abraham had begotten a son, Isaac. Whereupon Og answered that Isaac was no true descendant, since I, Og, can kill Isaac with one finger. This is fun, y'all. I love it. You see, when you humble yourself, the Most High leads you to the truth. Og said, look, I could kill Isaac with one finger, okay? Don't even worry about it. He ain't no true descendant of Abraham. I could kill him with one finger. It was in punishment for this remark, see? When Og said this, he sunk his own battleship on top of what he already did, on top of the evil motive that he had in his heart for coveting on Abraham's wife, Sarah. On top of that, he called Isaac no true son, no true descendant of Abraham. Isaac, the son of promise. He said, Isaac is no true descendant. I could kill him with one finger. As a punishment for this remark, one legend declares that Jacob, that Og was condemned to live to see the 100,000 descendants of Abraham and to be killed in battle against them. When Jacob went to Pharaoh and blessed Pharaoh, Og was present. And the king said to him, Hey Og, the grandson of Abraham, who, according to your words, was to have no descendants, is now here with 70 of them. What you gonna do about that, Og? Og cast an evil eye upon the children of Israel, and the Most High foretold that Og would fall into their hands. You see that? Most High foretold that Og will fall into their hands. Everybody just teasing Og about it. Everybody just teasing Og about this. You understand? So that's Deuteronomy 22, I guess. During the battle, let me see, let's Deuteronomy 22. Let's go. Deuteronomy 22. Deuteronomy. Let's see. Deuteronomy 22. Okay. What? Og. King of Bashan, baby. You know? Can't play with the Most High, man. Deuteronomy, let me see. There's no Deuteronomy 22 that talk about this, but there's plenty other scriptures that talk about this. We're going to get to it. All right, let's keep moving. Death of Og. So far, beloved, I've already made the case before I move forward. So far, I've already called many witnesses, and I've already made the case in regards to the historical correct information on circumcision, how it begun. And that in that time, the Mossad name was Yahushua name was Mat. And we know him as Matzah, which is the same thing. And the Mossad's name to Og was Baal of the earth. He didn't know what Enoch said. He knew the owner, the Lord of the earth. He called him Baal of the earth. Now, during the battle of Idri in Numbers 21 verse 33, Og sat on the city wall. His legs, which were 18 ells long, that's about 20 feet. Okay? Let me see. L in measurement. Let me get that for you real quick. Just his legs alone. What is 1 L in feet? 1 L is 3.75 feet. Okay? 18 L's. 18 by, what's 18 times 3.75? 18 times 3.75. That's 67.5 feet. Listen to this. While Og sat on the city wall, his legs, which were about 67.5 feet long, just his legs, reaching down to the ground, Moses did not know what monster he had before him until the Mossad told him that it was Og. In this same book, Moses and Og had a fight, and Moses took Og down. Okay, I'm not going to get into that right now. Og hurled an entire mountain against the Israelites, but Moses intercepted it. Now, think about this. Og took a mountain and hurled it to the children of Israel, but Moses intercepted the mountain. Now, that got you thinking. How tall was Moses and how big was Moses? Let's read about it. According to another legend, Og uprooted a mountain 3 miles long, intending to destroy all Israel at once by hurling the mountain upon their camp, which was also 3 miles in length. But while he was carrying the mountain upon his head, a swarm of locusts rushed through it so that the mountain fell on his neck. When he attempted to throw off this unwieldy necklace, when he attempted to throw off the mountain, teeth grew from the side of his mouth to the ground and kept the mountain in place. Now the Mossad is doing this to Og. The Mossad is preventing Og from attacking the children of Israel. Now listen to this. Meanwhile, Moses, who was himself 10 L's tall. So let's get it. 10 times 3.75. Moses was 37.5 feet. Og's legs were taller than Moses. Moses was 37.5 feet. According to this story, Moses, who was himself 37 feet tall, took an axe of equal length, jumped upwards another 37 feet, so that he could reach Og's ankles. Remember, he just wanted to reach the ankle. Og's legs alone were 18 times 3.75, which is 67.5 feet. So Moses jumped the length of his height just to reach Og's ankles and thus killed him. Now you see why the Mossad killed Og. The Mossad killed Og because Og coveted on Sarah, and he called Isaac no true descendant, and that he will kill Isaac with one finger. So the Mossad sank his battleship. Baal of the earth killed him. Abdullah, we're not convinced. We need to see more recent information, or we need to see another witness on circumcision. Okay, I'll show you. Let's go to the book of the remembrance of Enoch, the Essene Gospel of Meditation. Let's go to Seth. No. Let's not go to Seth. That's another page I wanted to discuss, but I'm way past that page right now. Okay? The reason why I wanted to show you this, I wanted to take you back to the beginning, Olam, where the Mossad had created everything. He said he told the earth to bring forth after his kind, and the earth brought forth the creeping and crawling things. That's in Olam, right, in the beginning, and how the giants, they were unattached to their young, and everything, the creatures that came before men, because these creatures, they were on the earth before Yatzikad became who he was in the flesh, right? So these were what the earth had. These were inhabiting the earth before Adam. Okay? These beasts, these fowls, these foals, these creatures, these creepy and crawling things, they didn't love one another. They had no consideration toward one the other. They only dealt with their young so that they could survive. They were without emotion. All their spirits were empty and void of any awareness. Now, if you go into the book of Og, the book I'm reading right now, you can see the characteristics of the giants, right? They eat people. They didn't have no care about anything. They didn't have what's called the spirit of intelligence, the spirit of Messiah, right? Right here. And the Lord said, the conditions of Olam are the way they appear before your eyes, because these creeping, crawling things, these beasts, all of these foes, they have only two of the spirits of life in them. So we can say, right, all these Raphim, the Jerizzites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, the Hittites, we can all say that they only had two spirits of life in them. They didn't have all those spirits of life. They only had two. They needed four. They only had two. They only had two of the spore of the four spirits of life in them. They each have the spirit that gives them life, and they have the spirit of the Father. That's all. That's all they had. That's all they had. They didn't have two other spirits. They knew the Father, just like Og knew the Father. The other Raphims, they knew the Father too. They knew him. They all called him Baal of the earth. So that's why Enoch was seeing them the way they are. Okay? He was seeing them that they had no emotion, that their spirits were empty. They had no awareness of the future, of a time of day. They all acted out of, everything was isolated. They were independent toward one the other. They had no kindness. They had no fruits of the Spirit. They were cold-hearted. They were selfish. They all acted out of their instincts, the circumstances of the moment. They yielded only to the circumstances of the moment and not to one another out of love. Okay? They yielded everything to the present moment of desire, and there was no vision of things to come, no understanding of things past. Okay? So Enoch was like, what the hell am I looking at? And Yahushua or Matzah to Enoch, yo, Enoch said, or Matzah or Enoch said, whoever's talking. So Matzah speaking to Enoch right here, Matzah the lamb. Mat is telling Enoch this: look, they are thus after the manner which you see them, because they do not have the spirit and presence of the Son of my Father in them, nor do they have the visions of holiness that I used in the day that I persuaded him to create the children of men. Okay, so now I have a video on the spirit of intelligence already. I have several on this. You could go and watch that. I just wanted to take you here to set 4 of the book of the remembrance of Enoch, Essen book of meditation, or Essen book of Haggai, to show you how a little characteristics of the giants. So look at all my precepts over here. You could go ahead and precept your book the same way. Okay, so it came to pass that as Enoch viewed Olam and the empty barren spirits there, he exclaimed in amazement, all that is before me, the Lord, in the emptiness of it, is thus void of feeling, because you have not as yet entered into it to give it the spirit of intelligence. Yes, because see, when the Mossad, when Yahushua's spirit, which encompasses all creation, when all creation have his spirit, everything becomes alive. And that's what happened to Yatzikad, because Enoch was looking at Yatzikad and he was dirty, he was young, he didn't have the spirit of Yahushua yet. He didn't have the spirit of intelligence yet. So as a little boy, he didn't have that spirit yet. Until Yahushua came in the day of Gamal and gave him all the spirits of life, and he destroyed everything else. Now let's go to where we need to go. You could go and read that yourself, though. It's a beautiful story. It's a beautiful read. Page 116, sets 4 and 35. I have videos on that. You can go and watch that. All right, let's go back. Let's go now to Badaw 15, page 514. Book of the Remembrance of Enoch, Essen Book of Meditation, Essen Book of Haggai. Let's get proper understanding. Let's destroy false doctrines. Let's restore true doctrine. Let's restore it tonight. After all that I have told you, I have shown you in the book of Og, Nimrod, and the giants, let's support it with this record. Badaw 15, page 514 through. We're going to read everything. Let's go. So now this is a continuation of a story. When Enoch went to see his son Methuselah, Enoch and his wife went to see their son Methuselah in a far country. They went on first they went on an errand for Nokisid or for Mossad. And then when they got to a town, they realized this town was a little strange, right? And there was a man in this town that elevated himself, that called himself a true son of God, and they wanted to know who that was. Came to find out it was Enoch's son Methuselah. But Methuselah, I'm not gonna tell you. Let me read it to you. So they stopped at his house. They stopped at Methuselah's house or whatever. I have a video on that. It's titled "Clean and Unclean," something like that. Go watch that video. I break this down. The whole story is there. So this is a continuation of what happens. And then Yahushai, Matt Sadalem is going into it in more in depth and deeper with the conversation he's having with Enoch. And this conversation is gonna take Enoch into the realm of circumcision. Let's go. And Matzah said to Enoch, your son Methuselah spoke this way because he came into the land of Torah as a stranger, and no man knew where he came from, and they knew not any of his kindred. And seeing that he could find advantage from this, that nobody knew who he was, by the examples of the masters of the society of Seku, Methuselah asserted to his fellows that he is a son of God, who also, and thus he has been deceived by Matzah the decadent. He has been deceived by Satan. He told the people that he is a son of God. So because he said that, of course, that was a deception by Satan. He has asserted to his fellows that he's a son of God and that he can be a father to sons of God. And thus, he had been deceived by Matzah, the decadent Semahaza, who also wishes to be the son of God. You see what's going on now? Because nobody knew who he was, he found an opportunity to elevate himself. They didn't know if he had parents. He was this strange looking guy, probably really tall, really good looking. He said, you know what, I'm a son of God, and I can be a father to sons of God. They believed him. You know, he had been trained by Lamech, so he had some surprises under his belt. So therefore he was deceived, just like Satan, who also wishes to be the son of God. They always want to be Yahushai. So Methuselah has put forth to them, the people, that because he is a son of God, it is his right to rule over his fellows. So he had the Nimrod syndrome. So you see, Nimrod was a hunter of men because he enslaved them. That's why he had the reputation of a mighty hunter. He was a Nephilim, so he took the smaller selves, he enslaved them, which is totally against the law of liberty, the love of liberty that the Mossad established. Nobody has the right to enslave anyone. You have the right to be free. Go against that. Okay? So he had the Nimrod syndrome. Number 37. Methuselah has placed a mark upon his body by removing the flesh of his foreskin. There you go. Methuselah has placed a mark on his body by removing the flesh of his foreskin. But who was Methuselah? Whose example he was following? He was following the example of the priest Samahan, the society of Seku, the Seku masters, the secret society of Seku, who was associated with Lamech, who were being taught by Semahaza, who Nimrod had a very close, intimate relationship with. Nimrod had a very close relationship with Satan. And I already explained that to you in the video. So Methuselah circumcised himself. He placed a mark upon his body by removing the flesh of his foreskin. Why? To indicate his loyalty, to indicate to his fellows that he is a son of God. You see? He wants to indicate to them he's a son of God by removing the flesh of his foreskin. And therefore, he can rightly rule over them. And once a year, he affirms to them that he is thus marked, and thus do all the masters of Seku. So what's happening here? Circumcision was used by the masters of Seku, particularly by Methuselah, to declare his loyalty. It was a form of loyalty to prove himself to the secret society of Seku. That's why he did that. Right? So that's why he told the people that, look, I'm a son of God. Look at the mark that I have on my body. Look at you. You don't have that mark, right? No, we don't have that mark. Okay, look at me. I have that mark. Right? But this is what the secret societies they practiced. They did this. They all circumcised themselves, just like Nimrod did, because he found a loophole. So they just carried that whole thing forward, right? So he told them, look, I have the right to rule over you because of this foreskin that I don't have. And everybody in the secret society of Seku did the same thing. The priest of Mahan, the Mahanite priests. Yahushua is still speaking to Enoch. He's telling him this. He told Enoch, look, in your heart, when you ask Methuselah through your workers if he had a father and a mother, it was your way to introduce Methuselah, to introduce to him the joy that his father and mother had traveled to visit him. Remember, when they went to his house, he was extremely rude to them because he didn't want anyone to know who they were. So after they left his house, he ran to his mother. He fell on his knees. And he asked his mother for forgiveness. But they left his presence feeling unclean. He was so wicked when Enoch returned home. Enoch was so unsure of himself. Enoch didn't even believe that he believed in Messiah no more. Like he was so disconnected, so alienated from Mossad. Enoch had to go and purify himself. And Mossad or Mat told him how to do it. So Mat is telling Enoch, look, when you ask him through your workers, because Enoch had sent his workers to find out who is this man who called himself a son of God. This was a way to introduce to Methuselah the joy that his father and his mother had traveled to visit with him. But Methuselah had cursed himself with many oaths. See, this is what happened. The secret societies, you take oaths. So he cursed himself. He bound himself with the oaths according to the manner of the priest of Mahan, according to the manner of Seku. That Methuselah says he will do, he couldn't be, according to the oath that he took, he said he will do nothing to reveal the secret of the mark. We know it. The mark came from Nimrod. But he wouldn't tell them. He swore that he would never reveal how he got the mark. And the question of saying, do you have a mother and a father or not, threatened his position to rule over his fellows. So because of that, he was standoffish to his parents. He didn't want nobody to know his secret. And your presence there, Enoch, could expose him to all those whom he ruled over. Why? Because he only ruling over them because they don't know who he is. Enoch and his wife showing up over there, jeopardize his secret. So the mark was circumcision, so you already know. And the Lord continued saying, and he said to Enoch, listen to this, y'all, very important here. Yahushua told Enoch the practice of this mark, which is a circumcision, will be taken into the world that will emerge after the flood of Atuma. The practice of this mark will be taken into the world that will emerge after the waters of filthiness. So that means before the waters of filthiness, no one had this mark except Nimrod and those giants. After the flood, the mark will be taken into the world that will emerge after the flood, after the waters of filthiness. In the Koran, it's called the flood of Atuma. In this book, it's called the waters of filthiness. In the Bible, it's called the flood, the great flood, right? He says this mark will emerge in the world that's coming after the flood. The world that Noah is going to start over with his children. This mark, the practice of this mark, will be taken into that world that will emerge after the flood of filthy waters. After the waters of filthiness flood over all of the wicked in the land of Hilia. And this mark, or this tradition, or this practice of circumcision will be passed down to the people of a far distant day. This practice of the circumcision will be passed down to the people of a far distant day by one named Japheth, who is a descendant of Methuselah, who is also Methuselah. Methuselah was his name that his mom and his dad gave him, and he changed his name to, he became Methuselah when he became a master of Seku. He said, this mark will be passed down from the descendants of Japheth. They are the one who's going to keep this practice of circumcision going. These far distant people were the descendants of Japheth, who is a descendant of Methuselah. And the people of Shayari, which is the son of Shem, the people of Shayari shall find among them in that day those who are filled with deceit, and they shall attribute the practice of the mark to their foremost, most respected principal father, who is called Abraham. There you go. This is the whole deception. Japheth, by way of Methuselah, they are the one who they kept the practice of circumcision. The descendants of Japheth, who were among Shayari, who is the son of Shem. So the descendants of Japheth who were living with the sons of Shem, all family, attributed the practice of circumcision to Abraham. And they will do this intending to elevate Abraham to the station of those who rule over their fellows among the nations. Abraham had a different covenant with the Most High. It was a covenant of light. It was never a covenant by flesh. You understand? So now let me take you to these deceitful people, the descendants of Japheth. Let's go to the book of the remembrance of the grandmothers. We'll come back to this right here. Chapter 12, page 355. Number 27 and 28. Let's go. These are the descendants of Japheth, descendants of Methuselah. Long after Shayari, son of Shem, departed from the temporal world, there arose a man named Kaldu. Kaldu was a descendant from among a group of slaves who were left behind by the masters of Seku when they gathered into the valleys of Hilia. Remember now, we spoke about Hilia, right? Yahushua says, he says, after the waters of filthiness flood over all the wicked people in the land of Hilia, this mark of circumcision will be passed down to the people of a far distant day by one named Japheth. So now over here we are with this ex-slave named Kaldu, a descendant from among a group of slaves who were left behind by the masters of Seku when they gathered in the valleys of Hiliyah where the floods were. And he was the son of one called Kised, who descended from Japheth. Okay? These are they who kept the practice of circumcision. Kaldu descended from Japheth. These are the ones with deceit in the heart who attributed circumcision to Abraham. He was the son of one called Kesed, who descended from Japheth. And he became a master of Seku, just like Methuselah, just like Lamech. He was an overseer of slaves himself. And it was Kaldu who moved in upon the people of Shayari and caused his own people to corrupt themselves by once again holding slaves. You see that? Nimrod was the first slaveholder, okay? And that practice of holding people as slaves continued with the descendants of Japheth. Okay? Who loved Satan more than they loved God. And they kept the practice of circumcision. They infiltrated the descendants of Shayari, son of Shem, the Shemites. And they corrupted them and they enslaved them. It was Kaldu who moved in upon the people of Shayari and caused his own people to corrupt themselves by once again holding slaves. And the people of Shayari were thus set in bondage. By who? By the Chaldees, descendant of Japheth, their own brethren. And the people of Shayari, son of Shem, the people of Shayari were thus set in bondage and became the servants of the Chaldeans. And Abraham himself was thus a slave who later escaped into the north country where the old encampment of Noah was. And the people of Abraham kept the idol houses of the Chaldeans. Of course, his father was an idol worshiper. You already know the story. And what became of the Urim, I don't know. But I suppose the Lord took the Urim to himself. And as to the Thummim of Enoch, he probably went the way of all the earth. So they're just guessing here. But this is the history of the people who kept the mark of circumcision, the descendants of Japheth, by way of a slaveholder named Kaldu, who infiltrated the descendants of Shem, the son of Shem, Shayari people in them. He infiltrated them and corrupted them and enslaved them, and they kept the practice of circumcision among their people and also among the people of Shayari, and attributed circumcision to Abraham. This is where circumcision came about. No more guessing on circumcision. The Mossad is not down with skin covenants. Okay? So let's keep reading this conversation. Now we cleared this confusion. We located the people with deceit, the Japhetheth. Let's keep going to see what Mossad says further in regards to the circumcision doctrine. Number 42. Let's reread number 41. And the people of Shayari, which we just read about, shall find among them in that day those who are filled with deceit. We just read about them. And they shall attribute the practice of the mark of circumcision to the principal father who is called Abraham. And they will do this, intending to elevate Abraham to the station of those who rule over the fellows. Abraham does not want to rule over anybody among the nations. Abraham was given authority from the Mossad. Abraham was very humble, very hospitable. Abraham was a righteous brother. He was a great king. Well, he was a king, you could say. Powerful men. He didn't have to force anybody to do anything. And there shall be one called Nahabin. There shall be one. His name is Nahabin, says Mossad or Mat, who shall be prominent among the children of Abraham. Nahabin, who is a son, a child of Abraham, shall refuse to take the mark. Now let me ask you a question. Based on this, do you think Abraham had the mark? Do you actually believe that Abraham circumcised himself? With a hatchet. There shall be one called Nahabin, who shall be prominent among the children of Abraham, who shall refuse to take the mark. Now, if Nahabin, who was a descendant of Abraham, didn't take the mark, do you actually believe that Abraham took the mark? Nahabin, who shall be prominent among the children of Abraham, who shall refuse to take the mark or support such practices, because he will know me, says Yahushai. Nahabin knows Mossad, and he will refuse to take the mark. And he is a son, a descendant, a prominent child of Abraham. And he will refuse to take the mark. Just like right now, you're refusing to take the jab. Why? Because you're a child of Abraham. You will not take the jab. So you will not take the mark. Nahabin refused to take the mark or support such practices. Why? Because he will know me, says Mat. And in the book of Og, I already told you, Hamat or Matzah detests circumcision. Nahabin will know that I am the only begotten of my father, and he shall not have the mark upon his body, nor will he mark his son. Hallelujah. Ladies, do not mark your sons. Men, do not go and circumcise your flesh. Do not mark your members. Take control of your members. The Mossad does not have covenant of flesh with Israel. Nahabin knows Matzah, knows Anoki said, he knows the law of God, the law of the Most High. He will refuse the mark nor support such practices. Why? Because he knows me, says Matzah. He shall not have the mark upon his body, nor will he mark his sons. Now you see how much we have been deceived. How much the children of the Mossad has been deceived. To the point where self-appointed preachers and pastors and all of that are perpetuating a lie over and over and over and over. And these dudes are reading scriptures with no understanding, with no light. Because they don't humble themselves to receive a greater revelation from the Most High. They elevate themselves. They glorify themselves. Number 44. And Enoch says to Matzah, oh no. Can that be? How can that be? Says Enoch. And Matzah says to Enoch, I will have a body of flesh like yours, Enoch. And Enoch said, how shall you obtain this body? And Matzah says to Enoch, I shall be born of a woman, and she will be a descendant of Methuselah. So Mary was a descendant of Methuselah, who was a son of Enoch. I shall be born of a woman, and she will be a descendant of Methuselah. See? My bad. Let's go back to 43. Forgive me, I skipped 43. I can't skip 43. Matzah is speaking to Enoch, and he says, and there will come a day, Enoch, that I shall inherit the mark of the men of Seku. This is it. The mark of the men of Seku. Matzah the Lamb, Yahushua just told Enoch, there will come a day that I myself will inherit the mark of the men of Seku. All praises to the Most High for light. All praises to the Most High for wisdom, understanding. All praises to the Most High. Luke 2, verse 21 to 39. When 8 days were completed for the circumcision of the child, which is Jesus, Yahushua, his name was called Jesus, the name given by the angel before he was conceived in the womb. Now, when the days of her purification according to the laws were completed, they brought Yahushua to Jerusalem to present him to the Most High, as it is written in the law of the Lord. Every man or every male who opens the womb shall be called holy to the Lord, and to offer a sacrifice according to what is said in the law of the Lord, a pair of turtle doves or 2 young pigeons. Let me see. Let me if I want to keep reading this to you guys. All right, let's just read the first. That's it. And when the 8 days were completed for the circumcision of the child, his name was called Yahushua. So in your record, in your first stick, Yahushua has a record of his circumcision. And over here, he's echoing that to Enoch from the beginning. He says, look, I'm going to have a body. There will come a day that I myself will inherit the mark of the men of Seku. The secret society of Seku. They mark themselves by circumcision, and they call themselves the sons of God to rule over people. He said, one day when I'm born, I'm going to have this mark. Why? Because this mark will be carried into the world after the flood of filthiness. The world that comes after the flood of filthiness. The world that Noah going to start over with his children. The mark will be carried over in that world. And it will be passed down to the people of a far distant day by one named Japheth, who is a descendant of your son Enoch. And they will go into the people of Shayari, son of Shem, and they will infiltrate them. They will corrupt them. They will enslave them. And they will keep going the practice of the mark, circumcision, and they will attribute that to Abraham in order to elevate Abraham among the nations. And it shall come to pass that one day I myself will have upon my body the practice of this mark. I shall inherit the mark of the men of Seku upon my body. For the practice of this mark will descend down from generation to generation. The practice of this mark will descend down from generation to generation until it is found among the people to whom I will be born. This is why, and this is how Yahushua ended up with this mark on his body, this circumcision mark. But let's read further. And Enoch said, how could this be? And Matzah says, look, one day I'm going to have a body of flesh like yours. I'm going to be born of a woman who is a descendant of Methuselah, your son. And it came to pass that Enoch mourned greatly. And the Lord said to Enoch, your mother Naba shall come to my mother. See, Naba is an archangel. She's one of the archangels that went to Mary and announced to her the coming of Messiah. Okay, 2 Aki. Go to the 2 Aki chapter 5, number 100, page 548. You're gonna find Eve, or Naba, better named Naba, as an archangel. She was one of the archangels who announced the birth of Messiah, or the Messiah, the birth of Messiah to Mary. Yahushua says, or Mat says to Enoch, your mother Naba shall come to my mother. and she shall announce my birth. Now remember, Enoch's mother was Baraka. But back then there was no such thing as grandmothers. Well, there were 7 grandmothers. But you didn't call so if my mother was Baraka, I would not call Naba my grandmother. Naba was my mother. She's the mother of all. She's the mother of everyone. So that's why Yahweh says, your mother Naba shall come to my mother, and she shall announce my birth, and she shall reveal the vision of my created purpose to her, of course. And Naba shall bring to my mother the spirit and presence of Eden to walk with her. And it came to pass that Enoch wept again as the thought of a mark, that is an element of wickedness, being placed upon the body of flesh. What is circumcision? Circumcision is a mark of element of wickedness that is placed upon the body of flesh. Circumcision is what? Circumcision is a mark of the man of Seku. Circumcision is a mark of wickedness that is placed upon the body of the flesh. That was to be for his lovely Mossad the lamb. You see that? Enoch wept. He said, what the hell? This can't be. And Enoch thought to himself, can the inheritance of Seku go on forever? Can this practice of the mark go on forever? And the Lord says, listen to this, y'all. When I am resurrected to live again, Enoch, the mark shall not go with me, for it is the element of wickedness, but it shall remain upon the earth until the end thereof. There you have it, beloved. When I am resurrected to live again after he was killed, or after he gave up his life willingly and they killed him, he says, when I'm resurrected, I'm not going to have this mark on my body. For this mark is the element of wickedness, but it shall remain upon the earth until the end thereof. This mark is the element of wickedness. This mark is the element of wickedness. This mark shall remain upon the earth, because where I'm going, it cannot go with me. So that takes us right back. This took us right back to the Coptic Gospel of Thomas, where the disciple asked Yahushua, is circumcision profitable or not? Yahushua says, if it were profitable, the father would beget them circumcised from their mother. It's not profitable. It is a mark of wickedness. Okay? It says, no. It's a mark of wickedness. When I'm resurrected to live again, the mark shall not go with me, for it is the element of wickedness, but it shall remain upon the earth until I return, until the end thereof. It is the mark of wickedness, and it has to stay on the earth. Let's go to number 51. And there are other marks upon my body, Enoch, that show that I am subject to the corruptions of religion. You see that? Family, you have been subjected to the corruptions of religion. You have been misled. You have been bamboozled. They have taught you the doctrine of men, not the doctrine of Enochisid, not the doctrine of light, not the doctrine of Yahushua Christ, who came to give you life and that more abundantly. You have been deceived. Once again, there are other marks upon my body, says Mossad the lamb, that show that I am subject to the corruptions of religion. Right? So he had the mark of nails, the mark of thorns. He had a mark of a pierced. They pierced him on his side. So he had a mark of a spear, the mark of thorns on his head. He has a mark of nails on his hands and feet. Who knows what other marks he had on his body? He said those marks show that I was subjected to the corruptions of religion in my obedience to the will of my Father. And because they are the marks of obedience to Enoch, said, these marks that I carry on my body, Enoch, except the mark of circumcision, which is a mark of wickedness, these other marks that I carry on my body that proves my obedience to the will of Enoch, said, my Father, these marks are the marks of obedience to Enoch, said, and they are the element of righteousness upon me. All these marks that I have on me are a mark of righteousness. But the mark of circumcision, no, that's a mark of wickedness. That's a mark of the element of wickedness. It shall remain upon the earth until the end thereof. When I'm resurrected, these other marks are going to stay with me. Why? Because they are marks of the element of righteousness that prove my obedience to the will of Enoch, said my Father. And those marks shall remain always to be with me, ever, even from the beginning. So he had them on him from the beginning. Why? Because the Most High declares the end from the beginning. Things that are not yet done. Revelation 13 verse 8 to Aki page 52, 522, number 59. This is how you break down false doctrines. All praises to the Most High. This is how you put a nail in it. Revelation 13 and 8. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb, slain from the foundation of the world. They shall remain to always be with me, even from the foundation of the world, even from the beginning. And when I find my body of flesh, men will do whatever they want, whatever they will to me, according to the task that I have been given. And all I do must be in the midst of sin and corruption, for that is the place where I'm sent. Where was he sent? In the midst of sin and corruption. So therefore he had to what? He had to suffer. He had to suffer in the body of flesh. Men will do whatsoever they will to me, according to the task that I have been given. And all I do must be in the midst of sin and corruption, for that is the place where I am sent. Where? To do what? To rescue the loved ones of my Father, the lost sheep. But the wicked will say that only an uncorrupted religion can bring salvation. Thus, in the life of every person, I must submit myself to their individual expressions of religion. And in this environment, I may find a way to bring them salvation, even according to how they will choose. And in the end, you will see that I am both the Father and the Son. Hallelujah. He sent himself in the flesh as a man, so you can have that same love that you had with him in Eden, or in the spirit. You see, he says, I'm going to have to submit myself to your way of expression of your religion, even if it meant that I had to take on this mark of wickedness. Why? So that he can find a way to bring you salvation. It's all about your salvation. There you have it, family. There you have it. Now let's go. Let's get some scriptures up in the Bible. Let's go to Deuteronomy 10 and 16. The Father does not have covenants of flesh with any man, especially not with Abraham. I don't know how those things got in your Bible, but the Mossad didn't write them. Deuteronomy 10 and 16. Therefore, circumcise the foreskin of your heart and be stiff-necked no longer. Circumcise the foreskin of your heart and be stiff-necked no longer, beloved. It is not about the flesh anymore. See, Yahweh shall come to reveal to you the love of the Father, a higher law. It is about your relationship with the Mossad. You see, circumcision represents your death, the death of the former man into the resurrection of the new man. Circumcise the foreskin of your heart, bend the knees of your heart and give God a blessing. Repent of your sins daily, continuously. Seek the face of the Most High. Love the Lord thy God with all thy might, thy strength, thy body and soul. Denounce your life right now. All your vials, all your disgusting ways, all your hate, all your inability to love, all your appetite for corruption and lust and sin and idolatry and corruption. Renounce everything. Circumcise the flesh, the foreskin of your heart. That's what he means by that. And be stiff-necked no longer. Deuteronomy 30:6. And the Lord your God will circumcise your heart and the heart of your descendants, to love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul, that you may live. He will not circumcise your foreskin of your members. No, he will circumcise your heart. The Lord, the Most High, Enoch said, the great I am, loving kindness, Yahuwah, Papa Bon Dieu, Gomet, will circumcise your heart and circumcise the heart of your descendants to love the Most High, their power, with all their heart and with all their soul, that they may live. Galatians 5:6. For in Christ Jesus, neither circumcision nor uncircumcision avails anything, but faith working through love. You need faith, not circumcision of the flesh. Galatians 6:15. For in Christ, neither circumcision nor uncircumcision avails anything, but a new creation. Colossians 2:11. In him you were also circumcised, with the circumcision made without hands. In him you were also circumcised, with the circumcision made without hands. What circumcision? This is the circumcision of the heart. That is the one made without hand. So in the Most High, you were circumcised with the circumcision made without hands, by putting off the body of the sins of the flesh by the circumcision of Christ. Hallelujah. Put off the body of the flesh. Put off. Let me get that for you one more time. This is beautiful. Victory is mine. Victory is mine. Victory today is mine. I told Satan, get thee behind. Victory today is mine. Colossians 2 verse 11. In him you were also circumcised with the circumcision made without hands. How? By putting off the body of the sins of the flesh by the circumcision of Christ. Put away your flesh. Circumcise your heart. There you have it, beloved. Every man who have ever wondered about circumcision, no more. You don't care about it no more. Circumcise the heart. The circumcision made without hands. I have given you the history from the beginning to the end. I have covered every avenue. I have given you understanding The Mossad is giving you understanding through me. I am his mouthpiece tonight, and he has sent you light and understanding, overstanding and understanding, so you may never again be confused about this element of wickedness, this mark of circumcision, this mark of the society, secret society of Sekou. There you have it, family. Women, do not circumcise your sons. It is not a sign. It is not an element of righteousness from the Most High. It is an element of wickedness. And Yahushua says, when he was resurrected, this mark shall not remain upon his body, but it shall remain upon the earth until he returns. He said, unfortunately, I'm going to have this mark on my body. Unfortunately, I shall inherit this mark of the men of Sekou upon my own body. For this practice will descend down from generation to generation until it is found among my people, among the people whom I will be born, upon the children of Israel. This mark is not for you. This is a mark of the element of wickedness. And you could see in the book of Og, Hamat, okay? Hamat, which is matzah, okay? He hates circumcision. Okay? I will empower the uncircumcised to kill 1/3 of the circumcised. I will empower them to kill the circumcised. Okay, he's going to send all types of demons, locusts, lions with teeth, wings, stingers on their tails on the circumcised. Those that are circumcised shall be tortured and killed. The circumcised will seek death and not find it until Og delivers it to them. Behold the plagues. Who sent the plagues? Mat. The Mossad sends the plague. He will send the plague upon the uncircumcised. And when Nimrod circumcised himself, what happened? There was a famine on the land for what? 7 years. A 7-year famine ravaged the land. Why? Because the Baal of the earth, the Mossad, the owner, the Lord of the earth, was displeased with the circumcision. He was displeased with the circumcision. I have given you all that you need to know in regards to this. If you know, so if you meet a man, he's a good man, and he's not circumcised, keep him. Okay? Keep him. You're gonna read all kinds of crap about circumcision, how men that's not circumcised and this and that and blah blah blah. You're gonna read all kinds of nonsense about circumcision, about hygienes and diseases and all types of nonsense that they talk about. Look, I am not circumcised. I ain't never been diseased in my life, and I've always been very clean. Am I not the son of the Most High, a son of Abraham? Am I not the son of Abraham? Am I not the son of the Most High? Am I not like this gentleman right here, Nahaben, who shall be prominent among the children of Abraham, who shall refuse to take the mark or support such practices? I do not support the practice of circumcision. Ladies, do not circumcise your sons. You are free. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Young men, older men, whoever, whatever age, if you're not circumcised, don't worry about it. Circumcise your heart, not your flesh. Read this chapter, y'all. It's a beautiful chapter. I'm not going to read you all of this. I gave you all the history, now you know. The Mossad destroy false doctrines tonight. Give him all praises. Give the Mossad all honor. And give the Mossad all glory and all thanks. For he alone is worthy to be praised. He alone is worthy to be praised. Family, I am privileged, and I'm glad that I was able to bring this to you because this was very personal to me. There was a time I met this girl, right, when I was single, and we went on a date. We met in Queens, so we're sitting down and we're talking, and she's telling me about the type of men she likes, and everything was flowing great. Until she mentioned circumcision. She expressed to me her disdain for uncircumcised men. She was telling me all this crap that never happened to me, but somehow in her mind, men that are circumcised go through these things. I'm like, what the hell? I'm not circumcised. I never go through these things. And it's in my head. And I'm saying this to myself. Nevertheless, that was the last time I saw her. We never spoke again. I never called her back because I knew it wouldn't work out. And I was not going to go and circumcise myself for her. That was not going to happen. And I'm so glad I didn't, because it is a mark of wickedness. All praises to the Mossad. Family, shalom. Until next time. May the Mossad bless you and keep you. And may he cause his face to shine upon you. Wherever someone asks about circumcision, please lead them to this video. Let them watch this video. They will have a thorough understanding. All praises to the Most High. Shalom.